Well, let's fast forward a little bit to 2014, okay? And you still, and your colleagues, are addressing issues in this session of the legislature having to do with civil rights. And you and your colleagues have introduced a number of bills having to do with civil rights as it pertains to different groups and different issues. Let's walk through some of those. Can you do that with me?
Yes. Well, first, I filed the Equal Rights Amendment. It takes 38 states to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment so that women will be viewed equally, men and women. And years ago, only 35 states agreed to it. We're still trying to find 3 because we feel that the Congress will address the issue.
And let me just make this a news headline. Florida still has not passed an amendment calling for equal rights for women.
No, Florida has not. It lost by 1 vote many years ago. So I've been here since 2000. I've filed a bill at least 12 times, and it was heard a couple of times. Senator Villalobos, when he chaired Judiciary, heard the bill. We can't get it moving, but we will continue because in this process, it might not pass this year, but somewhere down the road, it eventually gets passed. And I filed the Helen Gordon Davis Pay Equity Act, which is patterned after Lilly Ledbetter, which was the first bill signed by President Obama, which affords women pay equity. So I'm trying it that way. Can't get that one heard, but I will not be stopped. I will continue to do it.
What are the arguments against these bills?
Well, it's the chairman's decision to agenda the bill, and they haven't been agended.
Oh, there are no arguments, there's just no action.
No action.
Okay.
Senator Geraldine Thompson filed this year a bill that prohibits discrimination against pregnant women. There's no such law in Florida. Pregnant women do get discriminated against. Absolutely, in the workplace. So that bill has been filed. Senator Eleanor Sobel filed a bill creating a domestic partner registry. So she's working on that. I think Senator Soto filed again this year the Dreamers Act, which passed the legislature last year, and the governor did not sign it, which, in fact, he vetoed it, which would allow for undocumented immigrants, young people, to have driver's license. And then there's the in-state tuition bill, which Democrats have been filing for years, which would allow children of undocumented immigrants who are here because their parents brought them here or they were born here, to allow them to be able to attend college without having to pay an out-of-state tuition fee.
Which is thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars. So that bill is rolling this year, but it's being sponsored by a Republican. The 3 or 4 years that the Democrats have had it, we were unable to move it, but others have seen the wisdom of the Democrats' ways, and the bill is moving, and I feel fairly confident that it will be passed and the governor will sign it. This is an election year.
So there's a summary of some of the civil rights legislation happening in the 2014 session. Some will happen, some might not happen. Let's go on to a couple of other issues that you're interested in. Let's talk about telemedicine, or telehealth as it's sometimes called. You're very interested in that.
Yes, I am, because it's my feeling, my opinion, that Floridians need health care that's accessible. And consequently, this bill harnesses technology to allow a patient to have the advantage of being seen by a doctor without having to be in the doctor's office. It's the practice of medicine through advanced technology communications. And it's a great thing. It's in 20-some states. We do have telemedicine here in Florida. This expands it greatly and allows for persons to see doctors across state lines. And I'm pleased to say that it's been adopted as a committee bill. I initially filed it a couple of years ago. This year it's moving. It's a committee bill, and I'm confident that it will pass. And only doctors licensed to practice in Florida, or those who fit within the exceptions, will be allowed to treat patients in Florida with the same standard of care that one gets from a face-to-face visit, and the one that's prevalent in our laws today.
So basically, many people that may be outside the healthcare system in maybe remote areas or rural areas or other areas that are underserved, maybe technology can help get them.
Yes, it will, and that's the premise of the bill. And even those who live in urban areas who just can't get to the doctor's office, it's going to be a great benefit to the citizens of Florida. And it's Medicare and Medicaid will pay also for these technological doctor visits.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about charter schools. Okay, you've been, I would say, a kind of vocal opponent of charter schools, but the governor has been a proponent of charter schools, and I want to know what is at the heart of your opposition to it, because there seems to be a momentum to give tax cuts to corporations for corporate scholarships that go to charter schools or private schools. What's at stake here?
Well, you're right about the breaks that are given to corporations, but just remember that the vast majority of the children in this state are educated in traditional public schools. The more money that you move away from those schools, the less there's available to educate the masses. There's a difference in criteria and the accountability that these schools have to go through. There's a lot of red tape that they don't have to go through that public schools must go to. Even in the budget proposed by the governor for this upcoming fiscal year is $90.6 billion for capital improvements for charter schools, of which there are 300, and $80 billion for public schools, of which there are 3,000. So we got crumbling schools that need all kind of work, roofs, updated air conditioning, painting, but they're going to have to deal with peanuts when you take 3,000 and put it in the 80 million, and as opposed to 300 into 90.6. They don't have to have the same certifications. The rules are different for charters and private schools. We need parity. The accountability needs to be the same. And lest we forget that public schools and a free public education is the basis of the educational system in America. And the vast majority of our children are educated in public schools. So we don't need to steal all of the money away, such as what we're doing. Even if they leave the school, the money still stays with the private or the charter school if they decide to leave in the middle of the year and go back to public schools. So it's an impact economically, dollar-wise, and criteria-wise that we need to deal with. It is just not fair.
Closing question. When you're the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, Senator Gardner will be the president of the Senate unless the election changes all of that. We have to make that qualification. And somebody like you who's been a veteran in the House and in the Senate and so forth, you know that to be effective, you got to work with people. So how do you look forward to working with Senator Gardner? You've got, strongly held convictions and so forth. Have you all worked together, and do you anticipate that you can work together for the good of the state?
And that's the beauty of relationships. Senator Gardner and I both came into the Florida legislature in the year 2000 in the Florida House of Representatives. We have a 14-year relationship. I am confident that he and I will be able to get to work together on many issues. Of course, there are some core principles that each of us believe in that we will not depart from, but there are many issues that we will work together on, and we're looking forward to the Florida Senate being an even better place for persons of all parties to work together, as evidenced by our meeting and discussing what it's going to be like 2014-2016 under Gardner as president and Joyner as Senate Democratic leader.